Hello friends, happy December. I hope all is well with you. Today we're doing another interior design review, this time a very highly requested one, and that is the Beverly Hills home of Emma Chamberlain. And I feel like I have a lot to say about it. Before we dive into it, allow me to give a quick shout out and thank you to HomeByMe for sponsoring today's video. Okay, overall, I really love this home. I think it's one of the top architectural digest tours out there. I'm just deeply obsessed with the actual architecture of this home. It was built in the 1950s and it's just very cool. Emma Chamberlain worked with Pro-Am on this home. I hope I'm saying that right. But I have to say, I think they did a fantastic job of respecting the architectural design of the space while still bringing in her personality and sort of personal taste, which is never necessarily an easy task. So hats off to them for doing it so well. As we move through the house, I'll point out moments where I feel like we can really appreciate that respect of the existing architecture. Okay, so starting off in the main living room, I feel like I have so much to say here. First of all, a huge amount of her art is actually painted by her dad, which I think is really sweet, and his work is super cool. I think it's interesting that the pieces she has that weren't painted by her dad are a really similar medium and language to her dad's painting. So I think she must be really authentically drawn to this kind of art, which is super cool. And regarding the furniture that they brought in here, I really like the general language that they went with. The pieces feel very soft and organic, and the layout, especially with this sofa, is giving a really casual, informal vibe, which I really love and I think really suits her. I really like this sofa, and the fact that they chose this sort of dark, neutral upholstery to bring in some contrast, it's kind of like my sofa. I honestly wish they had done something similar and brought in some contrast with these armchairs across from the sofa, because something sort of interesting and tricky is happening here. Okay, overall, I really love the design of this home. It's like a dream home. So don't take my sort of picky criticisms and observations to mean that I don't like this house, because I really like this house. So basically there's this super large room, right? And with the rug and furniture space plan, they've created this sort of internal social space, this like seating circle, which is really great. But when you do this, your furniture pieces become the new edge of your room. So I think it can be really beneficial to use pieces that have a strong visual contrast with the floor and the walls so that your eye sort of catches that edge and the space feels more intimate. And I think that's especially important here because behind these two armchairs, there's this sort of bay window lounge area, which is so lovely, but I just wish it felt like it was doing its own thing separate from the living room. And I just think it would feel a lot better if these chairs were defining that edge more. The silhouette and scale of them are really perfect. I would just love to see a darker upholstery fabric or a darker wood tone, even like a dark throw pillow, just something so your eye can kind of catch that edge, you know? And with that same sort of mentality, I think that this bay window moment could feel a bit more cohesive with the architecture because this window and skylight feature is just incredible. Oh my God. This entire house has an extremely like light and airy indoor-outdoor feeling, mainly thanks to this really unique use of skylights and windows. I feel like they're just really working in harmony with the structure. You see how these skylights are really working with the beams. They aren't just randomly like punched in the ceiling somewhere. And I also don't think it should be taken for granted that this skylight is the exact width of this sort of bay window area that protrudes out. It's just fantastic. I would love to sit here. I mean, this moment is clearly calling for something. I love that they put a very cozy sofa here, but I do think this would have been a nice opportunity to design a custom built-in window seat. Like the way they've selectively used this wallpaper to sort of highlight that architectural moment is super nice. And I think they could have taken that mentality a step further with a sort of built-in bench element. Like maybe the whole front of it could be wood, so it feels like it's actually part of this architectural feature that wraps up to the ceiling. I don't know, I just want it to feel more cohesive, I guess. The gaps on either side of this sofa just really get to me. Also, a little wall lamp on the side that doesn't have a window could make this spot so cozy in the evening, because right now there's not any lighting that's unique to this nook. I just want this area to have its own identity from the living room, so it doesn't feel like this sofa that's like trying to get in on the conversation. Do you know what I mean? Again, it's super, super nice as it is. This is just like an obnoxious, picky thing. Because the ceilings and skylights and windows in this home are everything. So I think at every possible opportunity, it's nice to sort of emphasize that and work with it. I feel like I've mentioned this in multiple videos now, but one of the main differences between thoughtfully designed homes like this one and homes that just sort of miss the mark, in my opinion, is a careful consideration of openings, meaning doors, windows, and skylights, that work in harmony with the structure of the home. That's the reason this skylight moment is so exceptional. So, something to consider if you happen to be building a house or renovating at the moment. Okay, I want to take a quick minute to tell you guys about the sponsor of today's video, HomeByMe. I know that a lot of people have a pretty hard time visualizing a floor plan in 3D, and HomeByMe is the perfect tool for exactly that. It's a free 3D interior design tool that's seriously so user-friendly. You don't have to be a professional designer to figure it out. What's really cool is you can import a photo of your floor plan and then use that to build a 3D model to scale. And once you have that, HomeByMe does a really great job of letting you experiment with different finishes and furniture. They have this super vast furniture library with models of actual pieces from major retailers, places like All Modern, CB2, and Restoration Hardware. And what really sets HomeByMe apart is its rendering capabilities. You can get realistic 4K images, and there's even a new 4K video feature that's seriously so impressive. So whether you're planning a renovation or you just want to see how a certain piece or material would look in your space, HomeByMe is genuinely such a great tool. If you want to test it out yourself, and I really recommend you do, make sure you use my link down in the description. And thanks again to HomeByMe for sponsoring today's video. Okay, another minorly critical note I have about this home is the lack of window treatments. Like obviously this is a super private lot, so she doesn't necessarily need privacy, but I feel like there's something sort of cold about all of these naked windows. And I think that there could be so many cool and exciting ways to really enhance the modernist language of this home with some unique window treatments. In the dining room, all of the furniture is so nice. I'm really, really into these dining chairs. Also the credenza over by the stairs, and I think the rug is super, super nice. I really like how it looks with the flooring. The table is cool too. I really like the language of it, but I do wish it was symmetrical. I just have a thing about asymmetrical dining tables, or really asymmetrical furniture. I just feel like there needs to be a really good reason to opt for an asymmetrical piece, whether it be a sofa or a dining table or a chair. And I rarely feel like there's a good reason in a dining room. I also have pretty mixed feelings about this massive white wall. On one hand, I really love a blank white wall, and I think this is providing a really nice backdrop to the chandelier, but I don't know, something about these sconces is making me feel like there should be something here, like a cool piece of art. Maybe it could be something that's just not so visually loud, so that the lighting can still kind of be the star of the space. Or maybe we just need to get rid of one of those sconces so there's not this sort of symmetry happening. I don't know, but it's really not a big deal. The dining room is really, really nice. I'm super into that rug. I think the color of it is so nice. But the dining room is right next to the best part of the house, the reason this house is so above and beyond, in my opinion, and that is the kitchen. Dare I say that this is my favorite green kitchen? We'll talk about Dakota Johnson's house one day, but this is a very, very good kitchen. First and foremost, I want to point out how nicely they respected the incredible ceiling and skylight by ending the backsplash where they did. You see how it's coming up just a little bit above the window. It's giving the perfect amount of negative space and breathing room to the beams above it, which I just really, really appreciate. I think it's so beautiful. And the material palette in this space is so good. I think this is where Prom, the studio that she worked with, really, really excels. There's such a thoughtful balance of color and texture here. The stone counters are to die for, and she talks about how they sort of pulled the color and material palette from the colors in that stone. And I feel like that's something people talk about doing a lot. Like they'll choose a backsplash tile or a paint color based on the colors in a stone, but it's very rarely done well. And here, I think it's done perfectly. It's so good. And the fact that they used the same stone for the doors under the sink is genius and so good. It's something that honestly never would have occurred to me. Whoever thought of this is extremely talented, because it's just this incredible moment, perfectly centered under the window and the skylights above. It's so good. I'm obsessed with this. I'm so jealous that she gets to wake up and make coffee here every morning. Okay, and I really love the powder room as well. I think this wallpaper is such a cool choice. It feels like it's sort of equally speaking to the architecture of the home and her sort of personal taste and personality. And I have to say, I was really surprised when she said that this sink was original to the house, or at least it was there when she moved in. But I really like it. I think it's funky in like the best way. Okay, and in her closet, I just want to take a minute to talk about the ultrafragola mirror. This mirror, or really mirror slash lamp, was designed in 1970 by Ettore Sottsass. He was an Italian designer that a decade later in the 80s would be part of forming the Memphis group. If you don't know about the Memphis group or Memphis style, they really advanced postmodern interiors in the 80s. If you guys have seen enough of my videos and you're familiar with my thoughts on design, you probably know that I have a very strong distaste for postmodernism, like with a passion. I have a whole video talking about it if you'd like to understand why. But I specifically want to talk about this mirror because it's a really fascinating design. It has this sort of gentle rejection of modernism with these playful curves, right? And I feel like you can sort of see the seeds of the extreme postmodernism that would sort of take off later in his career. But I think what's really interesting is I imagine that somebody who wasn't familiar with this piece would just think that this is like a contemporary Gen Z decor piece. Like it fits in really well with all of the squiggle pastel interiors that you see on TikTok. It's extremely like 2020 trendy, and there are thousands of dupes that you could order online today. And I just find it so fascinating when these sort of iconic designer pieces get so intensely picked up in mainstream trends or fashion, for lack of a better word, that they almost take on a different identity. Do you know what I mean? I feel like something kind of similar has happened with the Cheska chair by Marcel Breuer or Charles and Ray Eames fiberglass chair, which I love both of those designs so much, but decades after they were designed, nearly 100 years in the case of the Cheska chair, there are thousands and thousands of dupes of them all across the world. It's just such an interesting legacy. I feel like there's so much to say here, but I'm kind of going off on a huge tangent, so let's get back to Emma Chamberlain's house. So moving into her bedroom, I really, really love this space. I love how big and low and grounded her bed feels, and the little antenna bedside table lamps are extremely cool. in my opinion. I was also so shocked when she said that they added this fireplace in because it feels like it was very much meant to be here. It's almost the opposite effect of the stone sink in the powder room, which looked like it was added in, but it was actually original. And again, I'm curious about the window treatments here. It seems to me like they were really just trying to make them as visually quiet as possible, but I don't necessarily think that needed to be the direction. Some very cool shades could add a lot to this space, I think. Okay, now let's talk about the bathroom, which is right up there with the kitchen. Look at the material palette, you guys. The way the two different stones are playing off one another and the tile behind the vanity, Proem knows how to put a material palette together. I think we all have a lot to learn from them. These materials are all so cool on their own, but they're also so harmonious together. And they don't even take away from how amazing that original wood bathtub is. I'm deeply obsessed with this space. It's so good. Okay, and as far as the outdoor space goes, I don't have that much to say here other than this seems like a really lovely pool area. I probably wouldn't have gone for these food-shaped tables, but I love how much she loves them. Okay, but the pool bathroom, on the other hand, I can't keep repeating myself, but these material palettes are so good. Look at that. I'm obsessed. Also, one of my favorite things in a home tour is when people talk about art pieces or objects that have some sort of deep meaning to them. So I really love that she has this poster that was in her home growing up, and she has this sort of personal connection with it. And I really love the energy that this sort of downstairs hangout space off the pool is giving. Between the stone floors, the cork ceiling, and this really interestingly shaped fireplace, the vibes are very cavey in a very cool way. And I love the art. I think it's so fun. Again, it's a really similar language to all of the paintings that she has upstairs. She has really consistent taste in art, which I think is really cool. But I just really love a cork ceiling. I mean, look at that. It's so cozy. Just like Troye Sivan's cork ceiling. Guys, remember when Troye Sivan watched my review of his home? How insane was that? Maybe Emma Chamberlain will watch this one day. Can you imagine? That would be so ridiculous. Hi, Emma. If you ever watch this, I love you and I love your house, and I would love to drink coffee in your kitchen one day. Okay, the only thing I want to say about this room, again, I'm being picky in an annoying way, I think. Let me see if I can explain this well. Even when you have a beautiful designer piece of furniture, like this incredible Soriana sofa in blue corduroy, I'm obsessed. I just don't love having matching sets of furniture in different sizes. So I think 2 sofas would be great, or 2 lounge chairs, but something about having a sofa and a lounge chair match just feels a little off to me. I think if you're going to have a matching set like this, at the very least, I would arrange them in like an orthogonal way, maybe with a cool end table at the corner, so it feels more like a modular piece, not 2 separate pieces. Does that make sense? But overall, I really, really love this home. It's extremely cool, and I think they did a great job of working with the existing architectural design. And these designers are so talented when it comes to material palettes. I literally can't say that enough times. I mean, this kitchen crosses my mind so frequently. It's just so good. Okay, I think that's all I have for this week. I hope this was a fun little chat, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.